Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to dive into this one with you because we're unpacking Carl Jung's brilliant concept of self-discovery. We are going to unmask our true selves and really map out that ultimate journey from just, knowing things intellectually in our heads to actually embodying them in our everyday lives. We've got a fantastic visual breakdown of this psychological framework lined up, so let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive right into this. We hear this cliche all the time in popular culture, right? People taking time off to go find themselves. It's kind of framed as if you're a lost set of car keys, just waiting to be found under the couch cushions. But Carl Jung asks a question here that is so much sharper. Literally, who are you beneath the person you have learned to be? Section 1. The mask we all wear. Deconstructing the social self. See, we aren't exactly born with a completely finished sense of self. What actually happens is, from childhood onward, we build this social self, and it's based pretty much entirely on what the world tells us is successful, respectable, or acceptable. Look at the building blocks of this mask. Family expectations, our wider culture and society, career ambitions, and of course, our own personal fears. I mean, think about how much of your daily identity is tied up in these areas. We build up this identity super fast, just absorbing all these external pressures. But here's the kicker, the really crucial takeaway. Surprisingly little of this social mask actually comes from your own deep internal truth.
Which brings us to Section 2, Mapping Your Deepest Self, Jung's framework of the psyche. All right, first up in this framework is the persona. This is exactly that social identity or mask we were just talking about, how we present ourselves to the world. Now, I want to be super clear here. The persona is entirely necessary for social life. We absolutely need roles to function, right? You need to be a parent, a professional, a friend. The danger isn't that you have a mask. The danger is when you mistakenly assume this role is your entire self. Next, we have the shadow. Now, the shadow holds all the aspects of ourselves that we've rejected, denied, suppressed, or maybe just completely failed to recognize. We almost always think of this as just the bad stuff, hidden anger, deep vulnerabilities. But guess what? It also holds incredibly positive qualities. It holds your raw creativity, your passion, maybe your assertiveness, basically anything that society or a strict teacher or a parent once told you that you shouldn't express. Then there's the ego. You can think of the ego as your standard, day-to-day conscious identity. It's the literal center of your ordinary conscious world. When you wake up, make your morning coffee, and head out to navigate the day, it's your ego that is giving you that solid, conscious sense of I. And finally, beneath all of these moving parts is the self. This is the deeper psychological totality of exactly who you are. It lies way beneath the persona, the ego, and the shadow. So when Jung talks about becoming who you truly are, he absolutely does not mean inventing some brand new personality out of thin air. Not at all. He means this gradual, lifelong process of discovering and integrating this genuine, total core. Jung called this entire process individuation. It is the lifelong movement towards psychological wholeness and becoming genuinely more conscious. And, we really need to emphasize something here. This is not some excuse to just be selfish or do whatever you feel like doing in the moment. Individuation actually means becoming deeply conscious of yourself. It means bravely looking at your persona, your ego, your shadow, and yourself, and consciously holding all of those wild contradictions together rather than just clinging to one single comfortable part of your identity. Moving on to Section 3, the value of wasted time, reframing exploration and failure. Let's look at how this plays out over time. At 20 years old, success for you might look like making money and getting recognition. By 35, maybe that focus shifts heavily toward family and professional achievement. At 50, you might suddenly find yourself asking really deep questions about meaning. And in your later years, the search almost always moves toward truth, wisdom, and transcendence. So, if you feel like your interests are constantly changing, listen. You are not confused. Self-discovery is literally a moving target. These shifts are just completely natural stages in the development of your consciousness. And we have the math of exploration to back that up right here. Think about it. You might read 10 books just to find the one single idea that actually changes your life. You might try out 10 different hobbies and figure out that only 2 of them genuinely engage you. You might even spend years stuck in a disappointing career. But honestly, that frustrating career is exactly what gives you the deep, visceral realization of what you absolutely do not want. Exploration is a vital process of elimination. A quote-unquote failed experiment, it just exposes your patterns and clears the path forward. Which brings us to a heavy but totally essential question.
What kind of suffering are you actually willing to endure for something meaningful? I really want you to stop and reflect on this for a second. What genuinely gives you energy? What are those questions that just won't leave you alone? What values stay important to you even when absolutely no one is watching? Your honest answers to these questions are massive, massive clues to your true self. Section 4, From Knowing to Being, the Ultimate Leap of Self-Discovery.
Okay, this brings us to what might be the most critical distinction of this whole explainer, and something we've been building towards all along. The difference between to know and to be. See, intellectual knowledge can expose you to amazing possibilities, right? But it's your lived experience that tells you which of those possibilities actually transform you. And this brilliantly illustrates how we can read endlessly about meditation without ever actually meditating, or we can study compassion for years without doing a single compassionate thing. You can know all the concepts about authenticity, but you have to actually live authentically for it to mean absolutely anything.
So let's go ahead and completely deconstruct a wildly popular myth right now. Who you were meant to be is not some predetermined destiny sitting in a neat little box inside of you, just waiting to be unpacked. Selfhood isn't just something you discover under a rock, it's something you develop. It is an active, ongoing, dynamic interaction with life. You literally become yourself by consciously integrating whatever it is that life reveals to you. Ultimately, this incredible journey moves through 3 distinct stages. Step 1 is simply knowing about life. That's where we read, we explore, we gather all these fascinating intellectual concepts. Step 2 is knowing oneself. This is where we start to carefully observe what actually resonates with us on a personal level and what totally falls flat. And finally, step 3 is becoming what you understand. This is the ultimate leap, where knowledge stops being just mere information floating around in your head and it shifts into an actual, lived, everyday way of being.
There is such a powerful distinction captured in this idea. Asking, who do I want to become, is so often driven by social comparison, right? It's driven by ambition or by what society currently considers prestigious or cool. But asking, who am I actually becoming? Wow. That requires careful, brutally honest observation of your lived reality. It demands that you watch what you repeatedly choose to do, especially when you're facing intense social pressure to do the exact opposite.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final, truly provocative question to think about. What is your life revealing about who you are becoming? Because remember, individuation isn't a final destination you arrive at. It's a way of living. It is the courageous movement from an inherited, hand-me-down identity toward a truly authentic existence. So, my challenge to you today is this. Step back, look closely at your lived experience, stop over-intellectualizing your life, and just start living it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.